studio called Pixel Ramen. That's pixelramen.com, like the food. Check us out. We also just launched a machine learning banking platform in the US called MoneyLab. That's moneylab.ai. Currently fundraising on vested.ca. Talk to me after if you're interested in joining the 150 names who are seeking to go public on that. Other than that, we're just here to host and have a good time. Thank you for being here.
All right, since we're running late, so we're just gonna jump into the speech. And let's welcome our first speaker, Annie.
Hello everyone. Can I have my slide? Hello everyone. So today I am going to talk about supercharge your career through giving and receiving feedback. So supercharge your career with a Superman and giving and receiving feedback. So firstly, I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Annie Wang, and I came from China 10 years ago. I studied math and computer science at UBC, and I started my software engineer journey during my co-op, and I've been in the industry for 5 years right now, and I worked at startup before and also some big company like Amazon and Google. And right now I work as a software engineer at Google, and also I serve as internal career coach because I'm really passionate about helping people with their career. And I just want to mention that today's session is just everything just my opinion and doesn't reflect my employer. So, why feedback? I assume that most of you are already in tech industry or you want to find a job in tech industry. However, a tech company isn't only about technology, it's also about people. And every interaction is an opportunity to learn from people. And have you ever been to a situation that you want to give feedback to your manager, but you don't know how? Or you're in a situation that someone gives you tough feedback on your UX design or code review or design doc, and then you probably find it hard to digest it. And this whole session today is to help you better give feedback, potentially to a manager, to a coworker, and also reframe feedback from something negative that make you feel attacked or insecure to something positive that show trust and collaboration. And let's so before we talk about feedback, let's talk about mindset. So who here has heard of growth mindset before? Wow, almost everyone. Most people heard about it. Yeah, but I still want to explain it. In order to explain what is growth mindset, I'm going to introduce fixed mindset first. So what is fixed mindset? Fixed mindset is you believe that your ability and your intelligence level, your knowledge is fixed. So if you're not good at math, then you'll never be able to major in math. So that's a typical fixed mindset. And growth mindset is you believe that people are dynamic and you're able to grow as you learn. So why we talk about growth mindset and how does that relate to feedback? Because if you don't have growth mindset, you won't be able to actually apply action item when other people give you feedback, and you won't be able to grow. And if you don't have growth mindset, you won't believe other people are able to grow, so you won't deliver feedback to them. So growth mindset is basically the foundation of giving and receiving feedback. And now I'm going to have some fun exercise about different example of feedback, and you can tell me what kind of mindset it is. So I assume like people in the back probably couldn't see it very clearly, and I probably just read it. Oh, you can see it. Good. Yeah. So let me read it. So the first one. So first example is, oh my God, I can't believe they're criticizing my work again. It is like they always find something wrong. I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe this project isn't for me, and maybe I should just stick to what I already know. So, what kind of mindset you think? Is it fixed mindset or growth mindset? Yes, correct. It is fixed mindset. And as you can see, with fixed mindset, you're easily to feel attacked, and you won't easily grow with other people's feedback. And I'm going to show you another example here. I really appreciate the feedback. It is so great to know where I can improve. And I see this as an opportunity to grow. I will take the suggestions on board and use them to enhance my skills on this project. What do you think? Is a growth mindset? Fixed mindset? Correct. Yeah, you're right. So as you can see, with growth mindset, you're actually able to take every feedback as opportunity for you to grow, become a better version of yourself. And now, let's talk about feedback, finally, feedback. And I know everyone want to give good feedback. So, what is good feedback? And I am going to show you a different scenario, and then I'm going to explain the scenario, and you can tell me what do you think of this feedback. So, the first scenario is, it is a one-on-one meeting, and a manager is talking to their report. And the manager is delivering this feedback to their report. And the manager said, I notice you use the word I too often, too frequently. Could you practice using we instead of I when you speak? So what do you think of this feedback? You can raise your arm if you think this is good feedback. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, more people. You can raise your arm if you think this feedback can be better. Okay, more people. A lot of people think this feedback can be better. Why do you think this feedback can be better?
When you use I, it makes it seem like it's for the individual and not as a team.
Okay, so you think the feedback is not very clear?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have to say, everyone who raised your arm, you're correct, because this is good feedback, but also the feedback can be better. So congratulations to everyone who raised your arm. So why this is good feedback? Because this is observation-based. It's based on, I notice you use word I. So this is observation-based. And also it's very specific. They mention a specific situation. And also it's actionable because they say, could you practice using we instead of I? So it's very actionable. However, it can be better if they mention what is the effect of this action. Like why they explain this. If they give more context and they talk about the result of this feedback, then the feedback is even better. But given this is observation-based, this is actionable, we can say this is good feedback, but it can definitely have improvement area. Thanks everyone, and you congratulations to everyone who raised their arm. And raise your hand, yeah. And here's another example. So Bob and Ranjit was having a design meeting. And after design meeting, Bob had feedback for Ranjit's design talk, but Bob didn't share it right away. And Ranjit didn't ask for feedback either. And so what happened later is 6 months later, during the performance review, feedback seeking section, Bob recalled and delivered this feedback to Ranjit. So what do you think? Do you think this is good feedback? Please raise your hand. Nobody? If you think this feedback can be better, please raise your hand. Okay, almost a lot of people. Yes! who raised up hand. You're right. This definitely can be better because it's good that if you deliver feedback in time. And now we can summarize what we recommend you do and what we recommend you not do when you are giving feedback. So it is good to be specific and observation-based, like the first example, and not good to be vague. And also, like last example, it's good to deliver at the right time and not at the wrong time. And also, it's important to be balanced. It's not recommended you to be all negative or sugar-coated. Another thing is be honest, be authentic you. But when you be authentic you, be careful not bring your feelings, emotion to the conversation. So here's a summary of what we recommend and what we recommend you not do. But the most important thing is don't be right, be helpful. Essentially, you help each other grow. You want to collaborate better. You want to work together as a team. So essentially, it's important to be helpful and don't focus on be right. And now we're going to go back to the topic I mentioned earlier, like how do you deliver feedback to your manager? I find it challenging myself. I'm not sure how you guys find it. And I'm going to introduce this beer model. This is a really great framework for you to deliver constructive feedback. And what is beer model? Beer model is first, we describe the behavior we observe, usually the physical action. And then the effect is the impact of the behavior on you. And the expectation is how you expect the person to change. And then the result is you explain what will happen as a result of this positive change. So what does that mean? How we use this beer model to give feedback potentially to your coworker, to your manager. We find it's hard. And I can give you an example. Say, if you want to give feedback to your manager about your manager is not showing up meeting on time. And then what you say, hey manager, I noticed that you're like usually 5 minutes late for the meeting. That's the behavior you observe. And then you say, you feel the meeting is not productive because you cannot finish everything in time and it's usually go overtime. And you also feel a little bit disrespectful if they're always late for the meeting. So you talk about the fact. And then you talk about your expectation is your manager can be on time in the future meetings. And then the result is if the manager usually is on time for the future meeting, you can finish everything in time and the meeting is very productive. And you will feel it's helpful to foster a positive work environment for everyone. And that's an example of how you can use this beer model to deliver feedback, potentially constructive feedback, potentially to a coworker, to your manager. Hope this is helpful. And now let's talk about what if we are receiving feedback. Like we receive tough feedback on our code review or basically after a meeting or anything that happens very often, right? So it is very important to be respectful. And what does it mean to be respectful? So first of all, you need to respect yourself because imposter syndrome is real. And you should really respect yourself that you earned your opportunity to be here. And each of you is great, is awesome. You should really respect yourself. And then you respect this opportunity for you to grow, to become a better person, to learn from the feedback. And then you respect the person who spent time and delivered this feedback to you because it's not that easy to give you feedback. So that's a core of when you're receiving feedback. And here are 3 steps that we can practice when we're receiving feedback. And first is active listening. What does it mean? Because it is very natural for us when we hear constructive feedback, we want to defend ourselves and explain ourselves right away. But you should hold on and then listen to what is being said. What is the feedback they're talking about? You should really listen and to understand the feedback. And then you acknowledging it by summarizing what you hear. By summarizing it, you really making sure, clarify there's no misunderstanding. And also you let the person know. You let the person know that you're active listening. And then you show your gratitude. You'll be grateful for the person who take courage and deliver this feedback to you, because giving feedback is very stressful. It can be stressful, right? So be grateful. That's the 3 steps that we can practice in any kind of situation when you receiving feedback. Since we only have limited time today, probably don't have enough time to explain different situations when you're receiving tough feedback. But I put the detailed step in my blog, and also I have a podcast that explains exactly how to receiving tough feedback. And I have a homework for each of you. That can you try give me feedback? Maybe send me an email or LinkedIn message and give me feedback with the beer model we mentioned today. And then I will go over my mail list tonight, and I'll pick a good feedback, and I'll give you a gift. I mean, I'm not kidding, I do have a gift. Yeah, thank you everyone.
All right, thank you so much. We think feedbacks are very important because it helps us to improve. But since a lot of us are looking for jobs, I think we might be very interested in the next topic. Let's welcome Jennifer.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Say yay if you can hear me. Yay. Say yay if you're excited. Yay. Where's the energy? Come on guys, say yay! Yay. Awesome. So my presentation is about finding a tech career that you can be passionate about. I believe I'm qualified for this because I literally work for a company that helps people find careers they're passionate about. It's called entrylevel.net. Please check us out. Anyway, I started with a meme because I love memes. So I hate Mondays. Be honest, I am being honest. Why do you hate Mondays? Because I hate my job. So if you can relate to this, please raise your hand. Okay, so I guess you guys don't hate your jobs. Here's the solution. I want to introduce GenGPT. That's me. I actually tried to get AI to help me with this presentation, but it was not being creative enough. So it gave some very generic advice, like understand your strengths, talk to people, and get experience. You guys probably already know this is what you're supposed to do to find a job that you're passionate about, right? So today I'm going to focus on understanding your strengths, but we're going to make it fun. So this is for all the overachievers who make PowerPoint slides for fun, like I do. I had a lot of fun making these slides. So I'm going to do an example, because that's how I learn best. Sorry in advance to YK, aka CS Dojo, aka the host of this event. But I basically searched up some weird job descriptions and found this list of the 40 weirdest jobs that you won't believe are real. And I found one called odor sniffer. It pays $48 an hour, and you just go around smelling people, which was really interesting. And today I'm going to explain why YK is the best candidate for this job. So, why hire YK to be an odor sniffer? He likes to empower others. That's why we're here today. He's helping you find a tech career you're passionate about. He is an expert at debugging, so he helps you find a problem and solves it. Well, I guess in this case, it's called deodorizing. He will tell you the truth nicely, so if you smell bad and you're going to a job interview or a date, he's going to tell you, but then he's going to help you fix it. And most importantly, he has a working nose, hopefully. Is that right? That's good. I took a risk there. So now it's your turn. I think you should really try this activity by yourself or with your friends. If you don't want them to think you're weird, then try by yourself. But I think it's because careers can change, but your values don't. And that's ultimately what makes you passionate about what you're working on. Because passion isn't just a job title. And I'll show you what I mean. So I majored in psychology at SFU. Any SFU alum here? Woo! Yes! So I majored in psychology, and I studied a little bit of UX design on the side. I also really loved writing. I liked event planning, and of course, I loved making memes. But then I was like, what job can I get with all of these skills that I'm passionate about? And then one day I saw this posting on LinkedIn. It said growth marketer. And I was like, okay, this seems interesting. I'm very into this company's mission. It's like about education and like helping people find jobs. Entrylevel.net is our website. And then I literally DM'd the founder and CEO. This is him. And he's like, okay, can you chat? And I'm like, okay. We just hopped on a call in like 30 minutes. And then I somehow got the job. And then this is everything that I've documented about the stuff that I do for the job. So you can tell like some of my UX knowledge came in handy. I do a lot of event planning and just like a lot of random things. I also learned a lot about the job. Like I didn't realize that I would love data analysis as much as I did. And that's because learning is never wasted. And you can also see that my meme making skills came in handy. This ad actually did very well. We actually had people comment like, I hate ads, but I loved your ads. And I loved writing as well. So I write a weekly newsletter helping people with their careers. And people, this is like all the feedback that I got, which makes me really happy. And I didn't expect to be a newsletter writer, but I am passionate about it now. And that's another tip for you guys. Please have a wins document. Every single compliment I get, I just screenshot it and put it in here. It's very helpful for negotiations and also if you're searching for a job. Okay, so let's try another activity. Sorry again, YK. But okay, do you have any Pokemon fans here? Okay. Sorry to you guys as well, because I don't know anything about Pokemon, but I made this. It's a Pokemon card of YK of CS Dojo. And I made it because it really highlights your skills and abilities. So here I wrote, bringing people together. YK is a good host that knows how to create a space that many find valuable. So I would say that's his passion. And now he's doing all these cool things and like hosting events like this. And then for his attack, I wrote Monday Blues. When hit, you'll get sad on Mondays because you realize you can never be as cool as YK. I kind of threw this in as an apology because I felt bad for using YK so much. But yeah. Here's some more ideas that you can try on your own. Make a Spotify Wrapped, but for your career. Then you can really see like your highlights, what you really like doing, what you disliked. Maybe a bingo card for career traits, and a D&D character sheets. So your homework today, I also assigned homework, is to talk to someone new today, maybe at the networking event after this. And at the end, ask them what stood out about you. And you might find something that you've never considered about yourself before. Here's another thing that you can do that I did recently. It was very enlightening. Ask your friends, what's one emotion you think I feel most commonly, or what you think is my default emotion? So when I asked friends, they all said I felt a lot of excitement and a lot of energy and rebellion. I tend to ask for forgiveness and not permission. That's why I tarnished YK's brand like this today. And that's why I work for startups, because this is kind of what startups are all about. And that's how I found my passion in startups. And this is a meme that I made to apologize to YK. The end. Thank you.
Wow, really thank you, Jennifer. I think one thing I learned from her is definitely to take initiative and be so passionate about it, and that people can notice you. So now we're going...
We can do one question.
Oh, awesome. So who has questions? Only one chance, so take your opportunity. Okay, then I'm just gonna random point somebody if nobody's... Who's going to... Okay, then I have a question. Alright, so yeah, because this is such a great topic, and you said you just get the job right after the school. And can you share with us like what the fear that you had when you actually, before you start to approach people?
Wait, what was the question? What experience I had?
No, your fear.
My fear?
Because you look so passionate about, but you must have something that
I don't
scares
think
you.
I
Right?
fear anything.
Oh, okay, wrong
But to be
question.
honest, okay. I was a total introvert before school. Like I would never speak in front of everybody like this. But in university, I was kind of forced to because I was in student politics and they made me speak in front of everyone. So I think exposure therapy really works. So if you're scared, then maybe just go for it. That's all I can say.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a good transition, though. Well, okay, then now we're going to talk about something about AI. So let's welcome Casey.
The karaoke energy.
Can you hear me? We're good? All right, let's get started. All right, so again, my name is Casey. Today we're going to be talking about the impact of AI, specifically on the field of product management. I know it sounds somewhat niche, but my job for the next 10 minutes is to make it as broad and as applicable as we can, and to make it as informative as we can with a little bit of humor, I hope. So, as you have seen, there are a lot of GAN models these days, text-to-image generation models. And so, if you go on, just the Bing image chat or Microsoft Designer, I wanted to make it a little bit of an icebreaker with you today. And if you go and just type in the prompt, so I just kind of showed you here, show me a product manager who's in too many meetings at the office, and his devs are yelling at him for being too useless. And as you can see, well, besides the fact that there's probably not enough gender and race diversity in this this image, and the fact that the formatting is completely wrong in the text, it's somewhat accurate. So we're at this stage right now commercializing a lot of text-to-image AI products. And I wanted to kind of show you guys that every day we're already using a lot of AI-based products in our phones and our desktop computers. So it's very applicable, and I wanted to show you a little bit about how, the secret sauce and as well as the future of product management, how we're going to be developing these things in the future. So quick thing, the most mundane slide, I promise you, but this is quick about me, why I'm talking to you today. I have about 3.5 years of product management. I'm currently an AI PM at PlanView. We're building a Copilot ourselves. A lot of companies are building Copilots these days. I'm sorry, so watch out. I was previously at the Microsoft Bing AI team, so we built a lot of web data stuff. And on the side, I like to write. I like to be an author. I like to be a nonfiction and a fiction author. And I like to work on side projects and hackathons. So if you're ever into any of this stuff, definitely come and chat with me. Okay, so enough of the self-promotion. Now we're actually getting to the meat and potatoes of everything, okay? So before I get started, I wanted to talk about quickly the traditional product management responsibilities, just to get that out of the way, because we're talking about AI and PM, right? Not just product management, but the actual AI stuff. So product managers, I just wanted to highlight this, they get their product strategy, roadmap, vision, right? They get to own all of that. They get to merge their business acumen with a technical mindset, right? Write stories, analyze data, and collaborate with devs and designers in a cross-functional team. All that fun stuff. That's my last point, is my favorite part of being a PM personally. Okay, now with that out of the way, we've kind of all established who here, by the way, I just want to confirm, knows what product managers do or want to become a PM in the future. I just want to confirm. A few people in the crowd, I see a few hands, I see a few others who probably think that PMs are kind of useless, that's fine. So I want to kind of quickly ask the $1,000,000 question here. What does PM, or maybe just $1 question is fine. What does PM have to do with AI? And I want to kind of just give you this graph. Now look at this. The market size projected for 2032 is going to be about $2.5 trillion US just on AI products alone. And if you want to put that in perspective, well, Canada's GDP last year was less than that. So, I mean, I'm not crapping on the country, obviously, but I'm sure you probably know what I mean here. In the next 10 years, jump on the bandwagon if you can, because AI is obviously going to boom. Now, there's a lot of saturation in this space right now, but companies are coming up with a lot of cool things on literally a day-to-day basis. So I wanted to kind of get this out of the way, because this is a lot of text on the screen. So if you can't see it, that's fine. I'm just going to tell you, you're using AI products every day: Copilots, virtual assistants, ChatGPT, recommendation systems like why I'm seeing underwear ads on my Amazon when I'm shopping all the time. Image and facial recognition, robotics, medical diagnosis. There's a lot of fields that you can jump in on the AI bandwagon. I'm going to stop using the word bandwagon, make it sound bad, but So I wanted to give a quick perspective on how product management really kind of plays into part of how we apply AI into products, because product managers, we discover the problems first before we actually help and execute those strategies. But the problem is, obviously, if you don't have a PM, well, sometimes, this is a stupid analogy. I'm going to give it to you real straight. Imagine there's a black cat at the top of a ceiling, or sorry, a rooftop, right? Trying to jump over to another rooftop, and you're thinking, wow, like without a PM I can do this. Let's just build a plank to make the cat cross over. So what happens? Well, we built the plank, but the cat doesn't use it. So the cat just jumps over, completely useless. So this is my stupid analogy to describe that PMs are kind of there to solve the right problems. AI is so ubiquitous these days that we kind of forget that sometimes there needs to be that product strategy and roadmap vision out there that kind of helps execute everything end to end. Because as you probably all know and have worked, either worked in jobs or worked in projects, shipping products is so goddamn hard. At least for me, so. This is quickly the future and the past at a glance, or past and future, better analogy. So on the left side, you see there's the classic AI ML stuff. This is the stuff before generation AI, right? So there's like the classification models. We usually use judge validation. There's both non-transformers, the convolutional neural networks, the multi-layered perceptron models, and then the actual generative, adversarial networks. This is the actual text-to-image stuff. This is what Microsoft Bing Image Creator uses, and then the actual transformers, right? So these are some of the actual AI tools we use today, as of right now, right? Because this is going to change on a daily basis. Different AI tools are going to change all the time commercially. And they apply to natural language processing, computer vision, and then that obviously goes into productizing whatever you're building. So I want to ask, now this is actually probably the million-dollar question, are PMs going to be replaced? Well, I keep breathing into the mic, but so I want to ask, what's going to happen to product managers? Well, first of all, I don't think we're leaving, so I'm sorry, devs. We're still going to be there. The truth is, AI can't really drive cross-functional teams as of right now. Do you really want to get your jury tickets from a bot right now? Do you really want a bot leading, Scrum meetings, roadmap discussions, all that sort of stuff that you probably need to get out of the way? You probably don't. I'm assuming. I hope. You want something personable, right? You want to talk to someone personable. So, shipping the product, I've already said it, end-to-end is complicated. There's lots of problems requiring that human element to discover, right? AI doesn't have good user empathy. Like, obviously, this is kind of like a fact, well, for now, right? Until it takes over all of us. And finally, it's also too damn expensive right now. Now, obviously, this is going to continuously change. GPUs and models and the infrastructure are all going to get cheaper and cheaper as we go along. But for now, right now, we have to narrow the use cases we can really solve for. So I have to say, this is my declaration as product teams. If you're an engineer, if you're a developer, if you're a product manager, or even just part of a product team in any sort of role, stay diligent and try to follow these pieces of advice. This is subjective from my opinion, obviously, but here's what I'm saying. Avoid over-reliance on AI. It hallucinates, obviously, because it's an LLM. You have to fact check a lot of stuff. There's error rates, there's error tracking. It doesn't even do mathematical calculations properly sometimes, right? Which is kind of weird. Use AI assistants and data agents properly. Now you're seeing a lot of AI assistants and data agents these days. Take advantage of those because there's going to be a lot of LLM models popping out and they're going to be very general, and what you want to do is narrow down on those use cases. Now don't just productize. Like, don't just take some AI tool, decide to you want to build some sort of side project out of it and do it. If you're part of a team, if you're building a side project by yourself, that's fine. Build an AI product, put it on your resume, that's awesome. But if you're a part of a company or your team and they're applying AI, try to vocalize the fact that you want to internalize it. Use AI to train the feedback that you're getting already, the customer data. Use AI to make automated processes a little bit easier so you don't have to do it yourself manually. Like the daily data entry, the daily emails and all that sort of stuff, filtering out emails. And finally, the predictions for the future. So first of all, I don't think emotional intelligence is going to be replaced. I hope so, because you want to work with good people and you want to work with personable people, because at the end of the day, we're all humans still, right? AI will become problems-oriented. We're somewhat kind of like a balance where I see there's a lot of cool solutions, but we are still doing a lot of problem discovery. Like, what can AI truly solve? What can AI truly solve that as $1 million business? That's $1 million industry. The state of LLMs, as you've probably already played with the LLMs, the ChatGPTs, and all this sort of stuff, will improve. So it will drive down costs for sure, because you see AWS and Azure and OpenAI, they're always competing against each other. It's a price war, right? And everyone will have multi-LLM platforms, which means you're going to have to work around and make sure that you're building for the right LLM, but you don't have to actually tailor to a specific LLM. There's going to be always a change where you feel like, I want to move from one LLM to another. That's kind of what I'm talking about here. But remember, it's the problem space that's important, not the solution. And what I mean by that is you can go around and you can take a look at what's in the industry right now. There's stuff like Anthropic. I know Google Gemini just released their new AI models. There's Grok and there's OpenAI stuff. Now, go ahead, play with they have a lot of playground tools. They have a lot of APIs. It's not free, unfortunately, for most of it, but go ahead, play around with it. But remember that if you want to turn this stuff into an actual product itself, make sure you're building for an actual problem to solve, not just a solution that you feel like it's so cool and it's texting, it's generating all this cool stuff and you think it's really cool, it's going to get you a job. It might get you a job, but you want to solve for an actual problem space. And that's all. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you so much. I understand that our amazing speakers covered it all, but I think it's still we might want to ask some questions. Well, if I were you, I would take this chance to practice my initiative skill. So who's gonna have the question? Nobody wanted to use AI or wanted to know more about it? I see there a gentleman want to hold his hands, but he's looking at another lady wanting to give the chance to her.
I had a question.
Okay, great.
How does the prompt engineering fit into your product management team to work with AI?
So
It's like a new position, right? And everyone's just raving about it.
So I recommend you look at prompt engineering as just a tool, not an actual responsibility. Because at the end of the day, I envision that within the next year or so, everyone will start learning how to do prompt engineering. Right. So how it falls into our team is we delegate a lot of the prompt engineering to our designers, our PMs, our marketers, our engineers. Delegate it to the actual topic owners, for the actual subject matter experts. Depending on, for example, if it's just a co-pilot, right, like a text generation product, delegate it to the actual product team that's responsible for the content. And then there's a little bit of operational friction. You have to train and teach them how to use prompt engineering. But I feel like, at least in my opinion, the long-term solution is that how you have to kind of onboard them and learning how to use these models. But there's going to be a lot of workbench tools that allows anyone to just do prompt engineering, iterative testing, and all that sort of stuff. That's how I see the future.
So you're looking for a follow-up question. So you're looking for a Swiss Army knife of a person to do the prompt engineering.
I am looking for I don't know if the analogy I'm envisioning is the Swiss Army knife, but I am envisioning that everyone in my entire product team, at least on my side, would be able to contribute at least to the prompt engineering side. For example, write the prompt itself, work together to decide what to do and whatnot, or at least there has to be a delegated individual who can actually do the actual prompt. But yeah, the stakeholders provide the contribution.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Let's welcome our next speaker, Yang.
Hey everyone, my name is Yang, and today I'd like to talk to you guys about good old software design. Who's excited about good software design? I like it. Before I get started, can I get a raise of hand if you're new to software development? No one? A few? Okay, don't be shy. May I ask you, what do you think, in your own words, good software design is? That's fantastic. I love it. Anyone else? No, it's scalable. Yeah, I love it. There's no right and wrong answer. So for me, maybe a little bit of background. I started software design or software development about 8 years ago. And I started as an electrical engineer. When I jumped into software, everything was fresh new. So when I first started, I thought software design was basically, hey, if you get something right, then it's good. And if you get something wrong, then that's not good. And good software design is basically, getting things right. So obviously, you guys are much better than I was 8 years ago. However, now I'm a staff engineer at Applyboard, so learning software design really pays. All right. So technically, you guys mentioned readability, which is one of the points I'm going to talk about. Readability is very, very important for software design because if you if you have really well-written code, people can understand what you're doing, and people can collaborate with you much better. And yourself in the future will thank yourself because you write clean code and you look at it, you actually understand what you did a year ago. I don't know if you guys experienced that, but I encountered many times. I read my code, I say, what the hell did I write a year ago? I'm so dumb. But it happens. So readability, very important. Second of all, it's the flexibility of the code. So when you guys hear about flexibility, you guys might think about, entrepreneurs talk about, like, hey, we need to pivot fast. We need to be agile. We need to be able to, deliver fast and things like that. So which makes you think about maybe flexibility is a really, really good thing. I want to have as much flexibility as possible. However, contrary to that popular belief, in my opinion, having extreme flexibility is actually very painful. Almost like what you guys are saying here. It hurts my eyes just to look at this guy. Same with when I look at really, really flexible code. So when you actually think about in that spectrum of super flexible code, something that one day can, for example, build an airplane, next day I can build a printer. What kind of software is that? Right? In my mind, this kind of piece of software is actually your programming language. So your Python language, today you can build like a driver for your airplane. Tomorrow you can build a driver for your printer. So these are the extreme flexibility. However, you can't really go out and market yourself to say, you know what, I developed this great flexible software that can do everything you wanted, but then you kind of have to do it yourself, which is not that great, right? So having that extreme flexibility is not that great. And on the other spectrum of flexibility is the what do you call that? Is the rigidity. So if you have software that's super rigid, then it does one thing really well, but you can't really move around. You cannot really say, hey, you know what, I want to create an additional feature on top of it. It becomes extremely difficult. So normally, good software falls in between these spectrums, somewhere in the middle. Okay? And there's also another fundamental feature of flexibility, which I found recently, which is normally when you think about flexibility, it actually comes with another component, which is the rigidity part. So let me give an example. Imagine I'm the bank owner of multiple branches, and I say, I'm going to offer my clients or my clienteles the flexibility of coming to any of my branch at any time of the day. You can deposit and retrieve money. Well, given this flexibility, it actually makes it, there's actually an implied contract in there, and this contract is very immutable, which is my employees need to come to the office on time. They cannot skip work. They cannot say, you know what, today I want to have a flexible day. Because flexibility at that point is not going to provide you the contract that you offer to others. So flexibility, rigidity, they come hand in hand. All right, so enough talk about qualities of good software design. Let's jump into how we might design good software. So I broke it down into 4 steps. The first one, and is one of those most underrated points, is understand the context. What does that mean? Understand the context means you need to understand the problem statement very, very well, as well as you need to know who you're designing it for, when do you need to deliver, and is there any other kind of blockers or any other constraints you need to think about, and maybe just a little bit predict a little bit into the future of how this software might evolve in the future. And having this kind of understanding of context is really going to help you design a software, regardless whether you know software or not. It is crucial. And secondly, you need to break down the problem into small individual pieces. And then you do the build and test. I kind of skipped through these parts a little bit because there's a lot of art and science to it. There's a lot of books that talks about good software design, like I think pragmatic software design. There's books about like Gang of Four that talks about the software design patterns and software design principles. I cannot go into these details. I don't have enough time in the day to talk about these things, but just take my word for it. It will come with experience. So once you work on software design for a while, you'll get to appreciate these steps. And lastly, which is very important as well, you want to iterate your software. You do not want to say, you know what, this is good enough software, I'm going to stop and treat it as good enough. You always want to think back and take a look at what's the new context that's being added. Can I improve the software a little bit? Can I make the software a little bit more, for example, flexible or maintainable in the future? So these are the 4 steps. Maybe we can go through an example and then let's follow through the 4 steps. So imagine your manager got into the crypto hype train and it says, you know what, I want you to design me a software where it will alert me when the Dogecoin price goes above $1, which is pretty common, I guess, with current managers. So I asked the manager, hey, when do you need this delivered by? Like, is there any constraint? And the manager says, I don't care. I want this yesterday. Have you guys heard this term before? I need it yesterday. So I knew the manager is in a rush, and I want to get the POC as quickly as possible. So I might just design the code in this kind of implementation. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly. It's written in Python, kind of in pseudocode. So first of all, I'm going to design the method name, send Dogecoin to boss. I'm going to have a crypto URL. So this is the page where I'm going to scrape for the crypto price. And then I'm going to create a Twilio client. For those of you who doesn't know what Twilio is, it's basically a place where you can send text messages to other people's phone numbers. And then I'm going to go with a loop and then scrape the page, parse the HTML, grab the element that says Dogecoin, convert the price into floating point, and then compare with the dollar. And if it's greater than $1, I'm going to send a text message to my boss with, hey, wake up, Dogecoin it's on fire. You should buy it right now. See for a second, I repeat. So by looking at this implementation, people might say, hey, this is actually kind of poor quality code. Everything is coupled. But given the context that manager wants this yesterday, maybe this is good enough. Maybe this get the job done because the manager doesn't care about the maintainability of this code. So maybe this is fine. However, you deliver this piece of code to your manager says, no, this is fantastic. Now I get this alert. I want everybody to know about this. I want the VP to know about it and all sorts of things, and I want this to be a little bit more maintainable. I want this to be able to use in a year or so. So now you have an additional context. So you have to think about other part about software design to make it a little more maintainable. For example, the Twilio client I'm using might be deprecated by next year. So I need to have some sort of flexibility in terms of what kind of ways I can send message to my boss. And also the way where I'm scraping the HTML. Well, maybe the next day the website doesn't exist anymore, then I'm going to lose that capability. So I want to create another kind of flexible component of that. So once again, I touch the flexibility, and then in the next slide, we'll take a look at how I'm going to create a particular contract that will enable that kind of flexibility. So the next iteration, which is what I might do, is I start with this method again, send Dogecoin alert to boss. And instead of passing the implementation details, I'm going to passing interfaces, which is basically another word of saying contracts. These are the things that are immutable. So I have a finder, which is a crypto price finder interface, and a messenger, which is a messenger interface. And then the finder, basically, all the finder interface just says, I can get a price given a name of the coin. And then the messenger interface just takes a phone number and a message, right? there's no implementation detail within this implementation, which makes it flexible in a way that I can use any kind of implementation possible. So if I want to use a Twilio implementation, I just basically implement that interface and then put the implementation detail in there. And if I want to have an HTML scraper, I have the HTML crypto finder class, and then I can put whatever implementation in there. And for example, one day I say, you know what, I'm going to use the API instead of HTML finder. I create another class and then pass it into this main class, and everything will work just fine. So as you can see, based on the context changes, I did two different flexible, I made two flexible choices, and then I set something being immutable, which are the contracts, and in this case it's interface. And now I made the code much more flexible and better quality, I would say. All right, so in conclusion, if there's any takeaway from this presentation today, I would just say good design is really iterative and relative. And it's relative to the context. You really need to understand the context to build really good software. And you want to always iterate on top of your design, and that is how you will grow as a better software developer. And thank you guys so much for your attention.
Oh, great. Okay, let's just in case anyone has any question.
Oh, sure. Anyone has questions about software design?
If nobody has, then we're gonna take a break.
Well,
very
there's
quickly.
one question.
In terms of like that code, like do you think that's like what it takes to become like even to like intermediate and then even to like stock?
Sorry, come again.
Like how do you? This is like the basic of like getting better in like
Yeah.
coding, right?
That's right.
So like, what do you think? Like, can you get better? Like in terms of like from junior to like senior. I saw your profile, you're a staff. Like, what makes you from a senior to a staff? What makes a difference?
Right. So for me, what I just talked about is from junior to senior. Once you want to go from senior to staff, it's your ability to elevate others. It's about how you can get other seniors or other seniors to higher position. That is what a staff engineer is for. It's not about like developing almost their own software anymore. At least that's the case for my company. In other large companies, staff engineers may have a different role, and they might need to be really, really good at certain things. And at the end of the day, they need to enable others. That's what they're for.
Okay, I think we have enough time to take a 5-minute break. So feel free to use the washroom. I think we have desserts. So feel free to try that if you want. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Excessively 17%.
Last time was like this too. It was okay when you go inside, but then when more people come in.
Yeah, this one is yours.
You're better than mine.
I'm not that because I still speak at home. I don't get to practice it. Some of my colleagues are Chinese. It's one of one. Oh, that means you're also technically like half. My entire father's side of the family is all my mom's side is so whenever I go back, it's either just go back to there's always nothing to do. Because people look at you I wish I learned a it's impressive that they can speak sometimes they can at least understand Mandarin. It's pretty important. I wish I could at least understand. I can understand a little bit. It's like English and French.
Right.
If you're learning dev, it's already pretty good because you can maybe do something basic and then design it very well. And then like have this sort of like resume or something. That's what I do. I was like, I went to school in Toronto, so I went to one of them. What I did was like I went to every hackathons, and then during the hackathons, you get to like for 2 or 3 days, you get to build something really fast. It's very small sometimes, but at least it's something you can put on the at least you showcase. The thing is like you showcase the culture. So that's what hiring managers always like. It's like you build a side project. Everyone has side projects. That's why you build a side project that's
I think we should get everyone back.
that's like that's what like
I feel like you got so this one is really in back. I feel like you
there's a lot of UX techniques. You get to work with designers. It's pretty fascinating. It's pretty fun.
So we're going to be back in 2 minutes.
Hey.
It's not working.
Hello. We're going to be back in 1 minute. Great, so we do you know who has battery?
There's someone in the group that said it.
Yeah, many times.
I don't have a battery myself.
I think Tom is better when you
Gonna buy it.
We need to play yeah, maybe.
You want me to come with you?
Yeah, you go there and then I probably come. I come to this part.
Oh yeah.
Some guys,
Shut up. Shut up.
Awesome. Awesome. Everybody loves networking. So we have a networking session after this, fortunately, but now we have a mentor to teach us how to network. So that is awesome. We will give like 2 seconds for everybody to get back to the seats. So yeah. All right. So next, our next speaker is Jermaine. And she's going to share about how we are going to networking. All right. Welcome, Jermaine.
I'm not going to use a mic because I think I have a pretty loud voice naturally. So if you guys can't hear me, just let me know. So hi, I'm Jermaine. I'm currently working as an intermediate software engineer at Workday, and I graduated from UBC last May with a degree in math. So I think a lot of you could say I'm actually relatively new to my career in tech. But I would say that a lot of my career success has been attributed to the great mentors that I've had around me, whether they knew they were mentoring me or not. I mean, looking at these movies, you know these classic mentors. You got Uncle Ben, you got Coach Carter, you have Gandalf the Wise. These are men and individuals, people that were able to push growth, offer support, and give direction to people that were looking for it at the time. And I bet you, maybe like me, have sat there at some point and wanted to look for guidance in your life, and you've been trying to find that direction. Sometimes we're lucky enough when we have opportunities like school or work and our institutions that can offer a formal kind of that. As you can see, there are lots of existing mentorship models, but the one we most commonly know is formal mentorship. Formal mentorship is something that we see oftentimes at tech conferences like this one, or in media, or sometimes it's the guy that is assigned to you on the first day of work, and he tells you, or she tells you, how to do your job, who to sit with, what are you supposed to expect out of this day. These individuals are products of programs that have been built to give you guidance and direction. But hey, what if you want to acquire different skills than the ones that they offer you at work? Or what if you want to learn something different than than they're teaching you at school? What are you supposed to do then? Well, let me introduce to you a new framework that's not that new, that you may not have yet explored in your life. In actuality, I believe that we have mentors all around us. Sometimes we just don't see them around us because we haven't been taught how to look out for them. If you look at these techniques of mentorship, qualities like support, the ability to push change in a person, or being able to lead by example are not unique to formal mentorship. Rather, these are probably qualities that you've experienced in your closest community dynamics, with your friends, your family, the people that you're comfortable with. You might not have thought about it, but those people could be mentors to you too. Peer mentors. They're actually all around us. They may not be immediately recognizable because we tend to label them as our colleagues or our friends, or other students that we go to school with. Because these qualities do exist all around us, it can make them harder to identify. So I think very naturally a question arises. Well, how do I start? Step 1, it will be hard. Undoubtedly so. You're going to have to step outside of your comfort zone because not only can it be hard to take initiative to engage in a new connection with someone, but it can also be difficult to receive new connections, new opportunities, or new ideas. Furthermore, you might not even know that you have someone, you might not even know when a valuable peer mentor could be right under your nose. But remember, this is something you actually already know how to do. I'm just suggesting that maybe you try doing it with a little bit more intention. Step 1.5, start small. In the face of rejection, I think most people tend to kind of go through this process of rationalization. You start to tell yourself things like, maybe they don't actually really want to talk to me. Or maybe I'll just go and talk to them another day. I'll just go stand over there instead. But don't listen to that voice. Instead of having to face rejection, why not just start small with the people in your community, the people that you're already comfortable with and have rapport, people like your family and friends. The best mentors that I have had in my life, I think, always started with that very simple connection. Someone who knows a little bit more than me, and me being comfortable enough to ask them to tell me more. So, to illustrate this, I met one of my most impactful mentors by starting small and talking to the person that was sitting next to me in a bio class at UBC. His name is Ben, and he makes salt forks now. You might have seen his video, and if you haven't, I would highly recommend you to please check it out. He actually did very well on it. Step 2, you have to get good at identifying those good quality mentors. A potential mentor is not someone that only knows more than you, but I like to think of it as someone where when you meet them, it's like you want to absorb a part of them into your personality, into your mindset, or into your skill set. Really what that means is you want to look for people around you that have the attributes that you want, qualities that you admire. Very simply put, maybe someone that you can just look up to. So the person that I sat next to, Ben, once explained building software to me like this. Being a software developer is like being a wizard. You write spells, and like magic, you can make something out of nothing. That was like my aha moment. That was when I identified, like, holy shit, this guy knows something that I don't know. I was looking for direction at the time. I was trying to figure out my major, figure out what I wanted to do with my future. And when I heard this, it opened my eyes to the fact that software development is not just a skill, it's not just a job, but it's actually a way of approaching problems, a way to bridge both problem solving and creativity. And that was what inspired me to pursue computer science and math. Step 3, now you have to pursue them. In the pursuit of the peer mentor, you're essentially asking them a very simple question. You're going, hey man, can you spend your hard-earned time on me? Can you invest that hard-earned time with me? Which means that you have to pursue someone who is willing to offer that time to you. And this is hard. Think back to step 1. This is a real person that you're going to have to form that connection with. And that really means that there's no shortcuts, there's no playbook, and there's no walkthrough for how you're going to do that. But if you're intentional about what you're after and honest about what you're capable of, I think that that is a great place to start. Either with existing dynamics or new ones, it means that you just need to start putting a little bit more energy and intention into every interaction you share with that person. In pursuing a mentorship, or in pursuing a peer mentor, you're essentially giving them the opportunity to connect with someone who is as passionate and gives as much of a shit about the thing that they love and care about. And I think that we can all agree that is an incredibly rewarding experience when you get to share that with someone. In my pursuit, I offered Ben the opportunity to share his knowledge and passion about computer science, to nerd out about cool projects, to talk about new tech stacks and cutting edge stuff like Neuralink and brain-computer interfaces, because that was what he really cared about at the time. Step 4. You're also going to have to take the time to maintain that relationship now. And I would argue that this is probably the biggest contribution you will have to make to this mentorship relationship. Which, if you think about it, it does make sense. You've essentially asked them to invest their time in you, and now you have to show them that you're willing to invest the same, if not more, time, energy, and effort into developing this mentorship relationship. Now, this is where it does get complicated because, again, I can't tell you exactly how this will look for each and every person. But I'd like to remind you that with peer mentors, if it's an existing relationship, you actually already know how to maintain it. And if it's a new relationship, start small again. Your goal is to just be able to build trust and consistency with that person. With Ben, this meant we started working on side projects together. So we built a drone from scratch together, we made a Discord bot together, and it gave me the opportunity to learn by observing him, by working together, and by asking so many questions. At the time, I think this not only helped us both build up our portfolio, but it was when I think I really got to see the value of why he thinks that way. And this is also what helped me land my first internship at a 3D printing startup. So that was pretty cool. Lao Tzu, a good friend of mine. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the student is truly ready, the teacher will disappear. Which brings us into the last step. How do you integrate this into your life? I believe that it's easier to accomplish and achieve things like your career goals, your personal goals, when the people around you care as intensely as you do about those things. Intentionality also means that you'll know what you were trying to achieve out of it, which means you'll know when you have achieved what you're looking, or you have achieved. You guys get what I mean. Ultimately, I think, like Lao Tzu says, it's important to remember that mentors are like everyone else in your life. They will come and they will go, and that's totally okay. Because ultimately, it just means that you have the opportunity to then evolve that mentorship relationship into maybe a really good friendship. And you don't know, maybe in another season of your life, you could become a mentor to them too. My dad always told me, you can learn the fastest by surrounding yourself with people that are wiser than you. And I've always valued mentorship because I like to imagine it like this. When you're trying something new for the first time, it's like you're walking on a dirt path with bumps and potholes along the way. When you meet that valuable mentor, they're able to help lay down the path for you. And when that happens, they're pretty much helping you get to your destination not only smoother and more efficiently, but they're essentially teaching you to avoid the mistakes that they made. A mentor's experience, I think, is invaluable because of that. When you are able to mold and shape your life, it's an incredible skill. When you can build a community that drives those same values, it will make accomplishing the impossible so much easier and so much more fun. And so I will finally end on this point, the point. Great mentors are literally all around you, but you have to start looking intentionally for them. And so I really encourage you to look around you. Maybe your next mentor is sitting right beside you. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That's very informative. And we can really apply those skills right next this session, and we can just use them in our networking session. So our last speaker is our famous YK, and he's going to share a lot. And welcome.
Okay. Hello, hello. Hello? Hello?
Yep.
Is it working? Okay, I'll just use this one. All right. Let me find my slides. Okay, right here. First of all, how's everyone doing? Maybe I'll steal Jen's method. I'll say, wait, what was the thing? Say yay or something, right? I might not be able to do it. Maybe I should try.
Yay!
Yay! That's it. Yeah.
How you doing?
So Jen used me as an example in her talk. I'll see, if I can use her as an example here. But let's get started. And I think I can use this mic as a clicker. We'll see if I can do that. So we're going to talk about the present and future of coding with AI. So quick question for everyone. Who here has used any sort of AI for coding? ChatGPT, Copilot, probably one of those. GPT-4 maybe. And I think everyone can kind of relate to this topic if you've ever tried it. If you're a software engineer, you might think, oh, is it going to take over? Well, I'm not going to get into it yet. If you're not a software engineer, you might think, wow, I can code now, right? You've seen one of those memes, like, I'm able to program. I can code, and then someone asks what language, and they say ChatGPT. And it's really true. It does enable everyone to be able to code. It does enable software engineers to be able to code faster. So let's talk about it. So the inspiration came from that fact, the fact that it's changed so drastically. I think the way we think about code, the way we actually do write code, and also the fact that I talked to a chief scientist at Microsoft Research, and he said that prior to Copilot, the developer productivity didn't change that much. Measured by the number of lines of code written per day, he said that number didn't change at all for decades. It was 7 to 8 lines of code per day. Languages changed, but that number didn't change until Copilot. With Copilot, it increased by double digit, and ChatGPT, GPT-4, even more, still double digit. And the number of lines of code is kind of a funny way to measure productivity, but at least you can see that this is a huge change. So that's, to me, a huge inspiration, being able to use it myself. It's just an amazing piece of tech. But also, it presents this problem, a few problems actually. One of them being, what's going to happen to coding? What's going to happen to the software engineer job? What's going to happen to software engineer in general? And then another one is, how do we keep up to date with all this change happening, all these new tools coming up, all these new models being launched? We're going to get into all of these. So let's get into this. Will AI replace developers? Yes. Someone says yes.
The paradigm shift.
Huh?
Yeah.
Paradigm shift.
Kind of prompting.
Right. So we got one answer, and that answer is yes. So I guess 100% of the people here thinks this is true. No one thinks no.
No. It's
No.
a tool. It's a tool. People are going to use it as a tool. So
It's a tool.
AI is not going to replace developers. Developers who use better AI than other people are going to replace those developers. I hope.
Right. I mean, this is a vague question to just to admit myself. I mean, I didn't say the timeline first of all, right? And I didn't say how many of them, right? It could be 100%, it could be 20%. So I know this is a vague question, but here's the way I think about it. I think about it like the computer and accountants. Before the computer was invented, people could have asked, will the invention of the computer replace accountants? The obvious answer is no, and we know that because it's already happened. what happened is, I'm not sure how accountants did their jobs before the computer, but I would imagine they would use like a big piece of paper, like a physical spreadsheet or punch cards, something like that. And what happened with the computer is they were able to now focus more on the other aspects of accounting, not just computing. And I kind of see it the same way here. For the next, let's say, 4, 5, 6 years or so, after that it's hard to see. But for that kind of foreseeable duration of time in the future, what's going to happen is AI will kind of replace parts of software engineers' job. It's going to make software engineers more productive, each one. But at the same time, because it's going to make software cheaper, the production of software cheaper, more software will be created. So you could argue that because of that, there will be more software engineering jobs. So that's one side of the argument, but the other side of the argument is that because each software engineer is a lot more productive, you need fewer people to produce the same amount of software, and therefore there will be fewer software engineers. So you could actually make this argument either way, but I'm personally hopeful that there will actually be more. And this is not a prediction, this is just hope. And with that, let's get into this agenda here. We're going to talk about the leaderboard by what's called LMSys.org. We're going to talk about a few general tips of using one of these AI tools for coding. And then we're going to get into some of the tools, maybe not everything in detail, but we have a lot of these. And then we'll conclude the talk after that. So who feels excited about this talk? So let's take a look at the leaderboard. This is a leaderboard that ranks different foundational large language models. And in this talk, I'm going to talk about large language models in particular, because that's what you typically use for coding. And this is probably too small for most of you to see, but it's basically a leaderboard that compares models like GPT-4, Claude, things like that. So you might say, why this leaderboard? There are other ones too. That's true. But at the same time, I like that it uses human input. It basically shows people two responses from two different models, and then asks them, which one do you like more? It also matches anecdotal evidence. And this is general ranking, but I found that the ordering shouldn't be too different for coding either. And then another nice thing about this particular leaderboard is, this is a tweet from Greg Brockman, who is former president of OpenAI. Actually, one day before he got fired and then rehired again, he tweeted this, about this leaderboard. So that gives it a little more credibility, which is nice. And here is the leaderboard a little bit zoomed in. You can see that GPT-4 Turbo is at the top, and then GPT-4 after that. Claude, GPT-4, Claude, GPT 3.5. So I think you kind of get the picture here. And then here is another benchmark from XAI by Elon Musk. It's about Grok. And again, this might be a little bit hard to see, but what it says is Grok is slightly better than GPT 3.5, according to them, but it's not quite as good as GPT-4 or Claude 2. Here's another one that's more recent, Mixtro. This is an open source model. Same kind of story here. Slightly better than GPT 3.5, they claim, but not as good as GPT-4. And I would caution everyone to be cautious about these benchmarks and these claims. For example, this person a while ago said, our model beats GPT-4 coding with GPT 3.5 speed and 16K context. I mean, when you hear that, you say, wow, that's great, right? Like, it's gotten a lot of points. Hacker News, people were excited. But when you actually look through the comments, a lot of people say, oh, GPT-4 is actually better than this. So I'm not necessarily saying this is worse than GPT-4 or better, but I am saying, be cautious about these marketing hype, marketing BS, and I hope some of you know where I'm going with this. You do? Yeah?
I am in marketing. So.
Yeah. Where am I going with this? Be careful about marketing hype and these new model launches. Where am I? What model am I?
Gemini?
Exactly. So this is a news article from TechCrunch. They say, I didn't say it, right? They said Google's best Gemini demo was faked, and if you look into it, that's kind of true. This demo was faked, and I'm not saying their model is worse or better than GPT-4. They claim it's better than GPT-4 in some ways, but I would be cautious. I'm gonna wait, because if they can lie in a demo video, who's to say they're not gonna? I mean, they're probably not gonna lie, but they could cherry pick some of the data, too. So for now, what we do know for a fact is that GPT-4 is generally the best model, GPT-4 Turbo nowadays, and then Claude family of models, and then open source models after that. Cool. And we've been talking about accuracy, basically quality, but there's also speed, cost, privacy, all these different metrics that you want to think about when you actually start implementing things with one of these models or when you start using them. But I'm going to leave it at that. I don't have to go into details of this chart, I don't think. And then another thing I should mention is GPT-4 vision and a vision model in general, because with a vision model, what you can do is stuff like draw a simple piece of UI and then actually have it produce a code that produces that UI. It works to some extent. When the UI is too complicated, it might not be able to handle it. But when it's simple enough, it is able to handle it. And you can do things like when you see, let's say, an error message in your browser, you can take a screenshot, send it to GPT-4, and it's able to help you with it. So that's really cool. But people complain all the time. Stuff like, oh, ChatGPT is not good enough for coding. It hallucinates a lot, and that's true. And there are ways to actually prevent it. And I even published a Twitter thread on this topic. I'm not gonna go into 12 tips here, but I'm gonna go into 4 of them. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about a few more things, and then I will wrap up this talk. How much time do we have?
Well, now it's 42.
42. 10 minutes, probably.
If
Cool.
you say so, yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so the first step is to provide enough context. People say stuff like, oh, ChatGPT doesn't know about the latest libraries. That's true. It doesn't necessarily have the latest context. So you want to provide that. And then it doesn't know anything about your code base, so you want to provide that too. Basically, copy and paste relevant parts of the documentation and the code base, as long as you're able to do that, and then ask questions about it. It really works. And I should mention that the base ChatGPT model probably doesn't work with it. You need to use GPT-4 for it. If you don't want to pay for it, just go to Bing Chat, because Bing Chat uses the same thing, and it's free. And then you want to break down a big problem into smaller ones. So if you ask it to say, make a really complicated game, make a strategy game, it won't be able to do it in one shot. So what you want to do is you want to break it down. If those subproblems are still too hard, then break them down further. And it's very important to keep your prompt as short as possible. And there's actually a scientific reason for it. What happens, the y-axis is basically the accuracy, the x-axis, the number of tokens or the length of your prompt. When the prompt becomes a little bit longer, the accuracy goes down, no matter what model you're using. GPT-4 Turbo is actually a little bit better at this, but still, you want to keep your prompt as short as possible. And this is very important. Don't rely on it too much. I think of it like a calculator. If you're a PhD mathematician, it's totally fine to use a calculator because you already know what you're doing. But if you're just learning arithmetic, you probably don't want to use calculators too much. I've seen this happen because you might develop this over-reliance on the tools. So whether you want to use ChatGPT or stuff like that for writing or coding, make sure that you're a competent writer first. Make sure that you're a competent coder first. Then start using it. That would be my advice. Okay, so we're gonna quickly cover tools. It's getting a little bit late, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. But I think it's really interesting to look at this. So we talked about Copilots. I'm just gonna quickly go through this. GPT-4, Copilot Chat, which is basically GPT-4 in VS Code, which is pretty neat. And we have a lot of these other tools, including Cursor, Bloop, and one I developed, which is partly open source, partly closed source as well. You might say, this is so confusing. There are so many tools to choose from. What do I do? My advice is pretty simple. Just start with Copilots, and then ChatGPT or GPT-4. Actually, jump into GPT-4. And then if you feel like, okay, I know how to use these tools really, really well, I want to be even more productive, then look at different tools. But for most people, I think the first 2 or 3 should be enough. And I will say that the general challenge of whether you're using one of these tools for coding or building one of these coding assistant tools is to build the right context. Like I said, if it doesn't have the right context, it's not able to give you the right answers. And that pretty much all the problems with one of these AI tools for coding, especially GPT-4 coding, boils down to one of the 4 things that we talked about. Basically, building the right context, keeping the prompts short, breaking down the problem into smaller ones, and the last one, which I can't remember right now. But as long as you get these things right, you should be able to solve pretty much any problem, to be honest. And since this is about the present and the future, the future is hard to predict. But where it's going, from what I can see, is that right now, it's basically just a little assistant, right? It's able to write a function. It's able to write, little comments and fix things, fix bugs. That's great, but it doesn't have like an overview of your entire code base or your project. But I think it's going in that direction. So in the future, what it will be able to do is like an AI agent that is able to take action on your behalf, not just give you answers. So it's going to be able to write code, run code, edit code, delete files, move files around. Eventually, you'll be able to build more of the project and not just like a single file or anything like that. Okay, so I have one more thing to conclude this talk with. But I will first say, if you already followed us on LinkedIn, thank you so much. If you haven't, you should, because that's where we post photos and things like that. And I guess I'll say here, like Charlotte was mentioning earlier, we have a networking event right after this. We're going to, what was it? Huh?
Jade Dynasty.
No.
Oh.
Original Joe's.
Yeah, right. Original Joe's. Yeah, Original Joe's Robson. I posted it on the event page. But I'm going to conclude this talk by saying I think it's very important to be cautiously optimistic about AI in general, about AI for coding in particular, because that's what we're talking about here. I would say optimistic because I think the future is bright with AI for coding. We'll be able to write code much more easily. We won't have to read like a long GitHub discussion, stuff like that. We can just copy and paste the whole thing and have AI read it for us. So AI is kind of like a little software engineering intern in that way. I think it makes our lives much better in general. But I would say be cautious because there is a lot of marketing BS and marketing hype. So it's good to be excited about these things, right? When you see like exciting demos, it kind of gives us a glimpse into the future. But at the same time, we can't believe everything that we see from marketing stunt, point of view. So be careful about that. Let's just wait for these models to actually come out so that we can try them out, so that we have more facts. And that's it for my talk.
So yeah, we're actually down. So it's
Right.
just went very fast, but we still have the networking session. I think it's limited seats booked, but
Yeah, I think we should be okay.
we should be
Yeah,
okay.
we should have enough space.
Yeah.
Do we have enough time for
for a
questions?
question?
Yeah.
I think we do have probably time for one question.
Okay.
If you want to save for a networking session, that also works. Yeah, because it's a lot of pressure to speak in public. I
I have a
understand.
question.
Okay.
Okay.
So pre-ChatGPT and post-ChatGPT, like after it became public, how much would you say like AI is accelerated, or like at least like investment into AI or interest into AI is accelerated after ChatGPT came out?
Interest in AI in general?
Yeah, in terms of like just like projects getting started, just like overall awareness in the industry. Because like obviously it's been a process that's been happening for a long time, but it seems like for the general public after ChatGPT came out, that's when people really started using it as a buzzword.
Yeah, that's 100% true. So the question is there more interest in AI now after ChatGPT? I mean, 1,000% true. I think even with Copilot, some people were excited about it. There was like I guess more of a niche discussion about AI for coding with Copilot, but I feel like with ChatGPT, it kind of showed people that AI can be really interesting, really useful in many different areas, not just for coding. And I think investors kind of caught on to that too.
Awesome. So, seems like some people also want to ask some question. We're kind of like on time. Do you want to take time, or you want to do it?
I can take a couple more questions.
Okay, yes, please.
Yeah.
In terms of like you say that productivity has been increasing by twice, like the number of lines of code. But like, does it mean that the quality of code is like increasing? Because like you could say like, oh, if I have a lot of if else, that means like it's a long code. But like if you return early, that's actually a better code. But like it's less code, right?
Right. So the number lines of code written on a day-to-day basis per engineer has increased. That is a fact. But you're right. It doesn't necessarily mean the quality has increased. The quality has actually decreased. That's a one data point I have, because I talked to a few CTOs. I had a panel with CTOs, and they said they need to spend more time actually debugging and doing code review. So I think overall the productivity has increased, but maybe not as much as the number of lines of code.
Awesome. So yeah, that's the end for today. But we will have more events going on. So it sold out pretty quickly. So yeah, just keep your eye on it. And I made a lot of friends here today. I make sure that you do it too. So yeah, do you have anything to say?
No, I'll just say thank you everyone for being here. Really appreciate you sticking around with us. We have a couple of events coming up. I sent emails about it on December 30th, and we haven't confirmed any of either of these events yet. But on December 30th, we're planning like a lunch party kind of thing. For event co-hosts, the past event co-hosts and speakers, as well as anyone who wants to join. And then on January 7th, we're doing one more coffee chat session with a little bit of mentoring. Part of the reason why we're doing so many events around this time is because I'm gonna be away for January and February. Annie will be able to take care of you guys during that time. But before I go away, I wanted to provide as much value as possible.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And I want to ask, who's coming with us to the networking event afterwards? Some of you might not be sure. But yeah, feel free to meet us at the bar.
Yeah, we will have mentors there, so it's a great chance to get a mentorship. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I'll say.